inspired him to learn Islamic sciences. And mashallah, he started his Islamic education from Toronto. 2004-2005 he did his certificate from Toronto Sharia program. It was private studies, studied the Arabic language and several Islamic sciences including tafsir, hadith and fiqh, and it was in Canada. Then he went to UK also, and he completed 2 years of the traditional Islamic sciences course that is known as Dars-e-Nizami. Then he went to abroad to Egypt, and there is a very famous institute is known Sibawe Institute. And when I saw this name Sibawe, it reminded me my education days, because Sibawe was a big grammarian, very well-known authority in Arabic grammarian, Sarf and Nahu. So probably after his name, this institute is in Misr, and he studied on one-on-one with various scholars, earning certificates in various Islamic disciplines such as Arabic, fiqh and Quranic and Hadith sciences. Then he continued his education and then joined a very well-known Islamic institution in the Islamic world, that is Al-Azhar University, Jamiatul Azhar, mashallah. And he has been doing his bachelor degree from Jamia Al-Azhar since 2010, that is in progress. So till now or the present, he is doing his degree in Al-Azhar University. That will be his bachelor in the College of Islamic Studies and Arabic Language, and it will be completed inshallah by 2014. So we all make dua for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him a very successful education from Al-Azhar. And I would like to present him as the model, as I said in the khutbah also today, for every youth who is sitting over here. Born, raised like him in America, did the same schooling, same process, college, university, everything. But then, mashallah, on the other hand, he has now degrees for Islamic sciences. So if we can, and our youth especially, if they are inspired by his education, by his personality, inshallah, and you have a chance to talk to him after his talk, and you can ask him many questions. Inshallah, with those words, I would like to invite him, our guest speaker. The very important qualification is that he is Hafiz of Quran, mashallah.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar. So I would like to invite him with his title of Hafiz Umar Hussain, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I was told that this would be a youth group. Actually, this is one of the older youth groups I've seen. So. Young at heart. So my topic is going to be understanding dua. Why dua? Every single person here, whether it is some... Everybody here?
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
So understand the topic was understanding dua. Why dua? Every single person here, whether they are 5 years old or whether they're 55 years old, everybody has some connection with dua. Just a few weeks ago, I took 13 exams in about 3 weeks. So I was making a lot of dua at that time. Just like, how many people here are in high school? Didn't you have final exams a little while ago? No final exam. Okay, that tells me about the Texas public school system. But generally, when you're taking exams, you notice you make a lot of dua. It's a very natural thing. In fact, it's natural not just to Muslims, it's natural for human beings in general. That's why even non-Muslims make dua. Now, the majority of my friends in high school were not, whatever they called themselves, they were basically irreligious. But you should see that whenever a disaster came, whenever they had difficulty, what's the first thing they say? Oh help me God, oh God. I mean, that's not by accident. Now, that's why there's a famous saying that they say even there's no atheists on a sinking ship, right? Because once things start going wrong, then all of a sudden you're calling on Allah, or you're calling on God. You're calling on a higher power. This is something that Allah put within us as human beings. So no matter how much people want to reject it, they will call on a higher power when things get tough. Allah answers du'as, and He answers even non-Muslims' du'as. How many people do we know who've converted to Islam because they made a dua? They said, to the Creator. They didn't know Him as Allah then, but they said, just guide me to the right path, whatever it may be. So let me share with you a story. There were a few brothers who were doing street dawah. And what they would do is they would walk on the streets and they would pass out pamphlets on Islam. Islam 101, basic Islam. So there was a brother there who had tattoos and all over his body. And piercings, in places that people shouldn't have piercings. He was in that kind of thing. So one of the brothers, immediately when he looked at him, he said, let's skip this guy. Let's move to the next one. This guy doesn't seem like he's ready for Islam today. But the other brother, he said, no, why should we, we're just here to give the message, whoever it is. So he went to him, and he said, excuse me, sir, can I talk to you about Islam? So he turned to him and he said, I woke up this morning, and I asked the Creator, I said, guide me to the right belief system. Today, when I leave, I'm going to the middle of the city to go find the right belief system. So now my prayer has been answered. And he became Muslim on the spot there. So what was this? This was a dua that was answered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Allah says in the Quran, He says, in many places, one is which?
We have been listening from the sisters area. This audio system is not working well over there. So what we are going to suggest that you brothers please move forward. All the brothers can sit here, and then we can invite the sisters in the back, so they can sit in the back and they can listen directly to the speaker, inshallah.
Maybe we'll just recite some things that our parents told us just read. We don't know what it means, and we're just trying to get it over with. So inshallah, when we look at dua in depth like we will over these next few minutes, we will get away from this feeling, inshallah. Now, before we talk about making dua, or having it accepted, the first thing we have to do is we have to make the dua in the first place. Many people don't bother making dua. How many times do you meet a brother, and you'll say, please make dua for me. Do you ever make dua for him when you go back? Be honest. Almost never, right? You just go back and then you just move on. So you have to. So if you're not making dua, there's a few reasons. Number one, it's laziness. And laziness, you're too lazy to make dua. This is one reason, and this is really true in any act of worship, be it prayer, be it reading Quran or anything. The second reason people don't make dua is out of arrogance. Because by not making dua, whether you say it directly or not, you're basically saying that I don't need anybody else. I can take care of myself. I don't need Allah. So this is the second reason. And the third reason that people will not make dua is because they are pessimistic. That what's the point of making dua in the first place? And this is a trick of shaitan. One of shaitan's names is Iblis. And Iblis actually means somebody who is he's basically become overly pessimistic. He's given up hope. And so this is a trick if you're not making dua, if you've given up hope. So these are 3 reasons that people don't make dua. So inshallah we don't want to be from these categories. Now, before we get into how to make dua, there are certain prerequisites. Now, the Prophet ﷺ describes in a hadith about how Allah is pure and good, tayyib, and that's all He accepts. And then He describes in the end a man who's in kind of a desperate state, and he throws up his hands to Allah, and he says, and he's making dua. However, it says, وَمَطْعَمُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَشْرَبُهُ حَرَامٌ وَمَلْبَسُهُ حَرَامٌ وَغُذِيَ بِالْحَرَامِ. He's making dua, but his food is haram, his drink is haram, his clothing is haram, and he's nourishing himself with haram. So how on earth is his dua going to be answered? So let's start with the first thing. His food is haram. What does that mean exactly? Some people are a little bit careless in what they eat. Especially living in America, we have to be careful. So some people will just, eat anything. It can also mean eating something from unlawful earning. So for example, if a father, let's say he owns a liquor store, for example. Imagine he's getting this income, which is not halal in the first place, and then he's going and he's feeding his family, and he's clothing his family, and he's providing shelter for his family. So he's nourishing his whole family with something that's not halal in the first place. Second, his drink is not jaiz. Now, I know some of the younger guys, it's no surprise, there are many youth who drink, and we know that, unfortunately. So imagine somebody now is drinking, this such a clear sin that even the youngest Muslim knows not to do it. Is that dua going to be answered? The next point, their dress is haram. Again, it could mean whether it's through unlawful income, or it could be the dress itself. Now, I don't want to get into a fiqh lesson here, but you'll see, especially some of the younger brothers wearing like these very tight, muscle shirts. Okay? Now, leaving halal and haram aside, if you don't have muscles, you shouldn't be wearing those shirts in the first place. That's the first thing. So that's just a common sense tip. Okay? But secondly, if for example, you're praying and you're exposed when you go down, it comes up, right? Or it's tight fitting. So the prayer is not being accepted in the first place. So how is the dua going to be accepted? When the prayer is the ultimate thing, that's the first thing that's going to be checked on the day of resurrection. When the prayer is good, everything else is good. So how is the dua going to be accepted? And then he's nourished with haram, same type of thing that we covered before. So these are the prerequisites for having dua accepted according to the hadith. So now, how do we make dua in the first place? Number 1, you have to make dua with conviction, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer you right there. You don't make dua without conviction, or you don't say, for example, oh Allah, if you have time, would you grant me this? Or if you have the power, astaghfirullah. Allah doesn't need your dua. We need our dua. We're the ones asking in the first place. So you must make it with conviction, as the Prophet ﷺ taught us to do. You have to make it like it's going to be answered with yaqeen. Second, you have to make it with humbleness as well. You make it with conviction, not arrogance. Okay, so you make it with conviction, and then you make it with humbleness. So you say, for example, Ya Rab, or Ya Allah. Like how a little kid, the way he goes to his mom and just tugs at her leg when he wants something, that's how you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should have that state, that level of humbleness, of lowliness. And that's what Allah wants from us. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that you have to be free from distractions when you're making dua. You don't make dua with a quick salam. because the Mavs are, playing, and you want to get back to the game. Okay? Besides, the Mavs got destroyed this year anyway, so you have more time to make it. But as the Imam said, I'm from California, so you got destroyed this last year. So, yeah, so we both have time to make it. But the point is, you don't make it with distractions. You give yourself time, give yourself some time, and we'll get on to, later we'll talk about what are the best times to make dua. So, give yourself time, or free from distractions. And the final point is to make time to do dua. Literally, start with 5 minutes a day for nothing but dua. And I guarantee when you start, you're gonna think that you asked for everything and only 1 minute will have gone by. I mean, even though we technically, with the way we act and live our lives, we should be making dua just non-stop for weeks. But we're not used to it. So you'll start, and that 1 week or that 1 minute will feel like an eternity. But eventually you'll get used to it, and you'll get used to it. Because you have to put some effort into it. It's not just going to be given to you. Okay? And then just in terms of when you make the dua itself, now when I tell some of the guys in high school, if I told you to throw your hands up, what does that mean? Somebody answer? Right, he's saying like this. But that's not what I mean. I mean this. Okay? When I say throw your hands up in dua, this is the etiquette of the Prophet ﷺ. Now I remember when I was young, probably 6, 7 years old, I saw somebody sitting in the musalla and his hands were like this. And, but I was just mesmerized by how sincere he was in the dua that he was making. So I asked my father, who mashallah has always been a smart man, and and we were kind of running late. So I said, why? How is he doing that? What is he doing? He said he's asking for a lot. And so you can do that too. That's why he has that. Okay. So, but the point is, this is the etiquette of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's a way of showing humbleness. So these are a couple of how to make dua in the first place. Now, what do you ask for? The most superior du'as are from the Quran and the Sunnah. There's no doubting that, because they contain the most important things, and they really cover everything you need. Okay, but when you go, know what you're saying. When you look up, you can Google these and find the Quranic du'as everywhere. Just know what you're saying. It'll totally change the way you make dua. Secondly, is ask for others. There's a beautiful hadith in which it said that somebody that asks for others, then the angels say, وَلَكَ بِمِثْلِ, that you get it also. So you shouldn't ever be jealous if somebody has something. Because if you make dua for them, you're asking, the angels are going to say for you as well. So it's your own benefit. So make dua for others in abundance. And third, a point that's really important is raise the standards on your dua. Like, we always make the same dua. If you're in school, it's always let me pass the test. When you get towards the end of college, it's let me get married. It's always the same dua. So raise the bar. Make a dua like, oh Allah, let me be somebody who can help others. Or help me to wake up consistently for Fajr. Or help me have a love for the Quran. These are very deep du'as. Make these types of du'as as well, in addition to wanting the nice car and all that stuff. Okay, so this is what to ask for. Now, what not to ask for. It's very, very important. There's a very, very scary hadith in Sahih Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ said that there's actually a time when Allah, that He accepts all du'as regardless, no matter what they are, even if it's against somebody. And Allah also refers to this in the Quran when He says, وَيَدُ الْإِنسَانُ بِالشَّرِّ دُعَاءَهُ بِالْخَيْرِ, that a person, when they get upset, they make dua, like they curse themselves, or they curse their kids, or they curse, their family. And so they curse their own, they're cursing themselves. They're making, I don't know, how would you translate, like, I guess it's an anti-dua, but dua. Yeah, how would I translate that? Yeah, I mean, like anti-dua, like opposite of a dua. They say dua against somebody. Dua alayhi. Now, I don't need to repeat some of these du'as, but you know, some of the kids have probably been the victim of some from their parents. Okay? They have this terrible saying in Egypt where they say, when somebody gets upset, they say, "Yikhrib baytik," which is, it literally means, may your house be destroyed. Okay. I mean, this is, imagine if you said that and that, you don't want to say that, what if that dua is accepted? And now you are responsible because somebody else, you know, they have a disaster in their home. Now some of you may be thinking that what kind of Allah would accept these du'as? That doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense because it teaches us to control ourselves. Otherwise we could just say whatever we want and just get away with it. So, but knowing that it may be accepted, it's a very scary thing. So we should hold back and reserve, inshallah. This is what not to ask for. Okay, so now we have the prereqs. We've talked about what to ask for, how to do it. Now, what happens after you made the dua? This is very important. I wish somebody had told me this 20 years ago. What happens? First of all, you have to realize every single dua with the prerequisites that I said is accepted. Okay, let me repeat. Every dua is accepted with two conditions. Number one, the person ma lam ya'jal. He's not hasty or impatient. So if you say, I've been making dua for 3 days now and I didn't get what I wanted, or I've been making it for a week, then the dua will not be accepted. Okay, this is not proper etiquette to say that. Now, we've heard of the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. Does anybody know how long Nuh alayhi salam preached to his people? Can somebody tell me? 950 years. Okay, that's a patient man. Alayhi salam. So if he can do it for that long, then we shouldn't really be complaining. So you have to be persistent and keep repeating it. Keep repeating it. And actually, if you think about it, the more you repeat it and the more you have to work for it, it's sweeter when you actually get it. Isn't that true? The more you work hard for anything, the more you appreciate it when you get it. The other condition is that you don't break the ties of your family. So if you, for example, if you said, to your brother, your blood brother, that, I never want to see you again, or your parents, or whatever other terrible things, then the du'as will not be accepted. So you cannot do that. This is very important. People take this for granted. You see people say, I haven't talked to my brother in 30 years. Well, what happened? I don't remember, but I have, why don't you give him a call? No, how can I give him a call? I haven't talked to him in 30 years. It's so ridiculous when you think about it. So these are the two conditions. Otherwise, every dua is going to be accepted. So now you've made the dua. You know it's going to be accepted with everything we've said. What happens? Number one, you will get what you ask for. I think all of us have experienced this at some level. You get exactly what you ask for. So you ask for the promotion, you ask to get into the university, whatever you ask for, you get that. So this is the immediate dua that is granted. What happens if you don't get that? See, many people make the mistake here and say, oh, it wasn't accepted. Something happened. What happened? Where did I go wrong? The second thing is that Allah will remove some harm that was going to afflict you. Okay, so if you don't get immediately if you don't see it, we shouldn't even say you don't get it because you are getting something. Some harm that was going to afflict you. So if you wanted the new car, right, and then you find out that it had recalls on the brakes, like those Toyotas or something, imagine what if you were going to be in an accident, so Allah removed that harm from you. Okay, so He'll remove a harm. And we should also realize that we have very limited thinking. If I tell you, for example, how much is the number 5? That's not hard to imagine, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I say imagine infinity, you can't even grasp it. This is how, imagine the power of Allah. So we don't know why He does certain things. So a brother came one time, he was complaining. He said, I made so much dua, I wanted to marry this one sister and I couldn't get married to her. I said, well brother, maybe she didn't want to marry you. Okay? Maybe her dua was accepted, that she wanted to marry somebody else. So you have to keep it in mind. You know, it's not always just from your perspective. Okay? So either you get what you want, a harm will be removed, or the third thing is that you'll get it in the hereafter. And in the hereafter is the greatest thing that you can have. In fact, if we saw what we were going to get in the hereafter, we would just say, Allah, give me all the du'as in the hereafter. You know, it's okay. I'll just deal with what I get. So you can't lose. And as you see, you should be, this is encouragement to make lots and lots of dua. Because if you're making lots and lots of dua, either you're going to get what you're asking for, or you're going to get a lot of harms removed out of yourself, or you're going to get all of that, you know, plus some more in the akhirah. So there's no reason not to make lots of du'as. Now, what are some of the best times, the hadith that we learn of to make dua? One of them was today, Friday. Now, there's an hour on Friday in which Allah accepts all du'as. All du'as are accepted. Now, there's difference of opinion as to when that hour is. Some say that it is the time when the Imam sits between the two khutbahs. Okay, so even if it may be short, just go for it. Get whatever you got, make dua at that time. Others say it's after Asr. Any time after Asr. So your best bet is after Asr, just every hour, just make dua, inshallah, and be one of those times. So Friday, those times on Friday. Another time is after the Fard prayers. After the Fard prayers. So, now this can be challenging sometimes, especially like at work, if you don't have time to make all the du'as you want. So pick maybe one or two Fard prayers and make all your du'as then, like at Fajr, you have time, at Isha, you have time. So take your time and make the du'as, those are accepted. When else are du'as accepted? In the middle of the night. In the last third of the night before Fajr. You know, when you get that sweet nap just before Fajr. Very hard to get up. But that's the time when the du'as are accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, and He comes to the lowest heavens, and He accepts all the du'as. Not literally He doesn't come, but that's another debate. But the du'as are accepted at that time. So even if you can only do it once a month, do it. It's worth it. Because the du'as are accepted. I mean, it's clear. Allah, you know, He's not telling you something He's not going to do. He's going to do it. Another time they say is when you complete a full completion of the Quran, which is also encouragement to be consistent in reading the Quran. And also while you're traveling. And it's very interesting why, you know, because traveling is not easy. Even nowadays, it's not that easy. I mean, I flew in on Tuesday night, you know, from across the world, and here we are on Friday. I mean, I'm still like half asleep. But it's tough when you're traveling. But the du'as are accepted. So if you find someone that's traveling, grab them and mention your name and tell them, make dua.